If the stairs in your own home have started to feel steeper, the staircase probably has not changed. What has changed is how much of your body's available strength and power each step now requires. That difference matters because many people respond in the wrong way. They walk more. They exercise the front of the thighs. They tell themselves to push harder. Yet they still pull on the railing, pause halfway up, or feel strangely unsteady when one foot leaves the floor. The reason may not be that your legs are simply too old. Stair climbing is a carefully timed handoff between several joints and muscles. And two of the most commonly overlooked helpers are not where most people expect them to be. One sits at the side of the hip and keeps your body from collapsing sideways. The other is hidden underneath the calf and helps control the ankle when your knee is bent. In a few minutes, I will show you how each one changes the way you climb. Two simple exercises that train them without repeatedly testing yourself on a full staircase, and one supported movement that teaches them to work together. But first, notice this. The point at which the stairs become difficult can offer a useful clue. If the very first step feels heavy, that is a different pattern from feeling comfortable at first and becoming winded near the top. And if the difficulty appears mainly when your weight moves onto one leg, that is different again. None of these patterns can diagnose a medical condition, but learning to recognize them can stop you from treating every stair problem as if it had the same cause. Picture a familiar morning. A woman in her late 60s walks around her neighborhood most days. On level ground, she feels capable. But at home, she approaches the stairs, puts one foot on the first step, leans forward, and pulls hard with her right hand. By the fifth step, her thigh is burning. At the top, she tells herself, "I need to walk more." But walking is not the same task. On level ground, most of your body moves forward. On stairs, your body must move forward and upward. For a brief moment, one leg has to accept much of your weight, keep the pelvis steady, bend at the hip, knee, and ankle, and then generate enough force quickly enough to lift you onto the next step. That combination makes stair climbing a test of strength, balance, coordination, and power. Power is not exactly the same as strength. Strength is how much force you can produce. Power includes how quickly you can produce it. You may still have enough strength to stand in the kitchen or walk through a store, but less reserved for a task that demands more force in a shorter moment. Research on older adults has repeatedly linked stair climbing ability with lower limb strength and power. In one small laboratory study of healthy older women, knee and ankle power together explained much more of the variation in maximal stair climbing speed than either area alone. This is why the same step can feel different after 60. The stair has not become taller, but it may now use a larger percentage of your available capacity. If a step once required a modest share of your reserve, you barely noticed it. If it now requires most of that reserve, your body looks for help. You lean farther forward, you push on your thigh, you pull on the railing, you rush the movement to get through the hardest point. Those are not signs of laziness. They are strategies. The question is what your body is trying to compensate for. Here's a simple way to think about the pattern. If your legs feel heavy from the first step or one knee hurts as soon as you load it, strength, joint comfort, mobility, or pain may be limiting you. If you feel fairly steady at first but become unusually short of breath or exhausted as the flight continues, conditioning or a heart or lung issue may be contributing. If your trunk sways, your knee falls inward, or you feel nervous during the moment when one foot is in the air, balance and side-to-side hip control deserve attention. If you land heavily on the next step and feel as if the trailing foot contributes almost nothing, the ankle and calf may not be adding their share. More than one pattern can occur at the same time. And this brings us to the first overlooked muscle. Place your fingers on the outside of your hip, a little below the top of your pelvis. Beneath that area is the gluteus medius, one of the main muscles that moves the leg out to the side and, more importantly for stairs, helps keep the pelvis steady when you stand on one leg. Every time you lift one foot toward the next step, the leg still on the ground becomes your temporary foundation. Without enough control at the side of that hip, the pelvis may drop on the unsupported side. Your upper body may lean over the standing leg to compensate. Your knee may drift inward. Instead of your force traveling cleanly down through the hip, knee, and foot, the movement becomes a wobbling negotiation. The quadriceps at the front of the thigh are still important. So are the larger buttock muscles that help extend the hip. This video is not replacing them. The point is that even a strong engine cannot work efficiently on an unstable platform. The gluteus medius is part of that platform. You may notice its influence in small everyday moments. Do you hold the rail more for side-to-side security than for pulling upward? Does one hip seem to drop when you lift the opposite foot? Does one knee move toward the other knee as you step up? Do you feel more confident when you turn slightly sideways instead of facing the stairs directly? These observations are clues, not a diagnosis. Do not deliberately test yourself on an unprotected staircase. Instead, use a kitchen counter or another stable surface on level ground. Stand tall with both hands resting lightly on the support. Shift your weight onto one leg, then lift the other foot only an inch from the floor. Do not close your eyes and do not remove your hands. Notice whether your pelvis stays reasonably level or whether your trunk immediately leans. Then compare sides. A difference may reflect strength, balance, pain, confidence, mobility, or previous injury. The purpose is simply to notice what your body does, not to pass or fail a test. Now let us train the movement safely. Stand facing a stable counter. Keep your toes pointing forward and your knees soft, not locked. Hold the counter with both hands. Shift your weight onto your left leg without letting your left hip slide far outward. Slowly move your right leg a short distance to the side. The movement may be only 6 inches. That is enough. Keep your toes facing forward because turning them toward the ceiling changes the exercise. Pause briefly, then return the foot with control. You should feel work at the outside of the hip, not a sharp pinch in the groin and not pain in the lower back. Begin with a small number of smooth repetitions on each side. Rest before your form changes. Over time, you can build toward 2 controlled sets, 2 or 3 non-consecutive days each week. If that becomes easy and your balance is secure, a physical therapist or qualified exercise professional can show you how to progress with a resistance band or supported side steps. The cue that matters most is not lift higher, it is keep the pelvis quiet. A high leg swing with a tilting trunk trains a different compensation. A small, controlled movement is more useful. But hip stability explains only half of the mystery. Some people can keep the pelvis steady and still feel as if they have no final push onto the next step. They plant the whole foot, the ankle collapses forward, and the body stalls just before rising. That is where the second overlooked muscle enters the story. Most people think of the calf as the visible muscle near the back of the knee. That muscle, the gastrocnemius, is important. But underneath it lies the soleus, a broad, deep calf muscle that crosses the ankle but not the knee. Because of that anatomy, it continues to play a major role when the knee is bent, which is exactly what happens as your body moves over the foot during a stair step. The soleus helps control the lower leg as it moves forward over the ankle. It also contributes to plantar flexion, the action that raises the heel and helps support and propel the body. It is not a magic stair muscle, and the ankle is not working alone. But biomechanical research shows that ankle power contributes meaningfully to stair ascent, especially as part of the coordinated effort with the knee and hip. Think about what happens when the soleus and the rest of the calf complex cannot contribute enough. The heel may stay heavy. The body may move forward without rising smoothly. You may push your hand onto your thigh or pull harder on the rail. The quadriceps then have to solve more of the problem, and the front of the thigh may burn even though the missing contribution is lower down. This is the detail many exercise routines miss. They train calf raises while standing with the knee nearly straight, which heavily involves the gastrocnemius. That is a useful exercise, but it is not identical to training the calf with the knee bent. To emphasize the deeper soleus, we can use a seated heel raise. Sit toward the front of a sturdy, non-swiveling chair. Place both feet flat, about hip-width apart, with your knees bent comfortably. Keep your toes and the balls of your feet on the floor. Slowly raise both heels. Pause at the top without rolling to the outside of the feet. Then lower the heels even more slowly. Do not bounce. Do not force through Achilles tendon pain, foot pain, or calf cramping. Breathe normally. Start with a manageable number of smooth repetitions. If one side seems weaker, keep using both feet at first rather than turning it into a balance challenge. As the movement becomes easy, you may progress by adding repetitions or by placing gentle resistance through your hands on your thighs. External weights should be added only if you can position and control them safely. Here is a useful tempo. Rise in about 2 seconds, pause for 1, and lower in about 3. The slow lowering keeps you from simply bouncing off the floor. 2 controlled sets, 2 or 3 non-consecutive days per week may be a reasonable starting pattern for many generally healthy adults. But your health professional may recommend something different based on your joints, circulation, nerve function, or medical conditions. Now you know the 2 overlooked helpers. The gluteus medius at the side of the hip, which helps stabilize the pelvis during single-leg support, and the soleus beneath the visible calf, which contributes to ankle control and upward support when the knee is bent. But knowing the names is not enough. Your nervous system must learn to use them with the quadriceps, larger hip muscles, foot, and trunk in the correct sequence. That is why the next movement may matter more than doing endless isolated repetitions. This is not a third muscle exercise, it is a supported rehearsal of the task. Use only the bottom step of a well-lit staircase with a secure handrail. Wear supportive shoes. Keep another person nearby if you have a history of falls, significant weakness, or fear on stairs. If the setup does not feel safe, skip this movement and ask a physical therapist for an appropriate alternative. Place your whole right foot on the bottom step. Keep the left foot on the floor. Hold the rail. Before trying to rise, gently shift your body forward until you feel weight move into the foot on the step. Keep the knee tracking in the same general direction as the middle toes rather than collapsing inward. Then press through the foot and rise only as far as you can control. Step back down carefully. Start with just a few repetitions, then change sides. The goal is not speed. The goal is a quiet pelvis, a controlled knee, and a smooth transfer of weight. Use the rail for safety, but try not to haul your body upward with your arm. If you cannot rise without a hard pull, use a lower platform under professional guidance, or continue with the 2 floor-based exercises until you are ready. There is one more clue hidden in this rehearsal. If one leg feels dramatically different from the other, or if pain rather than effort stops you, do not assume the answer is simply more exercise. A clinician can check for arthritis, tendon problems, nerve involvement, previous injury, medication effects, or other causes that a video cannot identify. At this point, many people make one of 3 mistakes that slows their progress. The first is relying on walking alone. Walking is valuable for health and conditioning, and it should not be dismissed. But level walking may not expose the hip, knee, and ankle to the same demand as lifting your body up a step. Public health guidance for older adults recommends a combination of aerobic activity, muscle strengthening, and balance work. Walking can be part of the plan without being the entire plan. The second mistake is rushing the exercises. Fast repetitions can hide a weak range by using momentum. On the stairs, rushing can also reduce the time available to place the foot securely and organize balance. Controlled practice builds a movement you can trust. The third mistake is turning the staircase into a daily examination. If you repeatedly climb until exhausted just to see whether you are improving, fatigue can make the movement less safe and your results harder to interpret. Training should create capacity, not constantly prove that you lack it. Here is a simple 2-week starting framework. On 2 or 3 non-consecutive days, practice the supported side leg raise and seated bent knee heel raise. Begin below the point where form breaks down. If the low-step rehearsal is safe for you, add only a few controlled repetitions after the 2 exercises while you are still fresh. Continue your usual walking or other aerobic activity at an effort appropriate for your health and fitness. During the first week, do not chase more repetitions. Learn the positions. Keep the toes forward during the side leg raise. Keep the pelvis quiet. During the seated heel raise, keep pressure through the big toe side and little toe side of the forefoot rather than letting the ankle roll outward. During the step rehearsal, place the whole foot. Let the knee follow the toes and rise smoothly. During the second week, change only one thing. Add a few repetitions, add a second set, or make the low step movement slightly smoother. Do not increase everything at once. Muscles respond to challenge, but joints and tendons also need time to adapt. Instead of timing yourself on the stairs, track 2 practical signs. First, how heavily do you need the railing? Second, can you arrive at the top with your movement still controlled? Improvement may first appear as less pulling, less side sway, or a shorter pause. Those changes matter even before the staircase feels easy. And remember the clue from the beginning. Where the difficulty appears matters. If the first step is hard but your breathing stays comfortable, lower limb strength, power, pain, or mobility may deserve more attention. If the first steps feel easy but you become progressively and unusually winded, muscular training may not be the full answer. If the main problem is wobbling during weight transfer, balance, vision, inner ear function, sensation in the feet, medications, and hip control can all play a role. A health professional can help separate these possibilities. Some symptoms should not be treated as an ordinary part of aging. Stop exercising and seek urgent medical help for chest pressure or pain, severe or sudden shortness of breath, fainting, new confusion, or symptoms suggesting a medical emergency. Arrange a medical assessment for a clear, unexplained decline in stair ability, new swelling, new numbness, one-sided weakness, repeated falls, or pain that is worsening. If you have a heart, lung, neurological balance, bone, joint, or circulation condition, ask your clinician how to adapt the exercises before starting. For ordinary muscular effort, use a simple rule. The exercise can feel challenging, but your breathing should remain controlled enough to speak. Your form should stay steady and discomfort should not be sharp, sudden, or progressively worse. Do not hold your breath while pushing. Exhale through the effort and rest as needed. The most important message is this. Harder stairs do not automatically mean that independence is disappearing. They can be an early signal that the gap between the task and your available capacity has narrowed. That gap may be influenced by strength, muscle power, balance, joint health, conditioning, or a medical issue. The correct response is not panic. It is careful observation followed by the right kind of support. The quadriceps and larger hip muscles remain major contributors, but the 2 overlooked helpers can change how efficiently the whole chain works. The gluteus medius keeps the pelvis from giving way during the single leg moment. The soleus helps control and support the ankle while the knee is bent. Train them, then teach them to cooperate in a supported step. If you try the safe floor-based movements, notice which one reveals more. The side of the hip, the deep calf, or neither. Share that in the comments because your answer may help shape a future video. And there is one final twist. Going down the same staircase is not simply going up in reverse. Ascent asks your muscles to lift you. Descent asks them to act like brakes while your balance system judges the edge of every step. That is why some people can climb up confidently but freeze on the way down. In the next video, we will uncover the muscle action that controls that descent, the common railing habit that can make you feel less secure and a safer way to practice without repeatedly risking the full staircase.